My fiancée slept with my boss, and 2 days later, I was fired. They thought they'd gotten rid of me for good. What they didn't know was that I'd spent 5 years building the very system that kept their entire operation running. And I knew exactly where to look. If you've ever trusted someone completely, only to find out they were planning your downfall the whole time, stay with me. And before we start, hit that subscribe button. You're going to want to see how this one ends. 2 years ago, my life looked normal. Steady job at a logistics company, engaged to a woman named Rachel. 5 years. We had a whiteboard in our kitchen counting down to the wedding. I thought I had it figured out. Funny how fast a plan can fall apart. It started small. Rachel canceling dinner plans last minute. Work call, she'd say. Taking her phone into the bathroom when it buzzed. The kind of things you notice but don't want to notice. Then one night, her phone lit up on the counter while she was in the shower. I wasn't trying to snoop, I swear I wasn't, but I saw a name, Grant, my boss, and a message preview, something like, "Can't stop thinking about last night." I just stood there, staring at it. Wait, what? I confronted her that same night, didn't even take my coat off, told her exactly what I saw. And here's the thing, she didn't cry, she didn't panic, she just looked at me, calm as anything, and said, "You were never going to get that promotion, you know that, right? Grant's been telling me for months. I needed someone in my corner, so I made sure I had one." I stood there trying to process that. Someone in your corner. Not for me, for her. She kept going, like she was almost relieved to finally say it. Told me she'd been talking to Grant about a regional coordinator position, a step up, better pay, better title. Said she was tired of waiting around for my career to catch up to where she wanted our life to be. Said I was comfortable in a way that felt like settling to her. 5 years, and apparently, I was the thing holding her back. That hurt worse than the affair itself, if I'm honest. The affair was a betrayal. That reason was a verdict. 2 days later, I got called into HR. Restructuring, they said. Position eliminated. 5 years of solid reviews, gone in a 15-minute meeting. I sat in that office, and something in my gut just knew. This wasn't restructuring, this was cleanup. I packed my desk into a cardboard box while coworkers suddenly found their monitors very interesting. Nobody said goodbye. That silence was almost worse than getting fired. That night, I sat on the edge of my bed and just looked around the apartment. The whiteboard was still on the kitchen wall. 62 days till the wedding, it said. I remember standing up, walking over, and wiping it clean with my sleeve. Just erasing it. Didn't even feel like a decision. My hands just did it. I put the engagement photo we kept on the shelf, face down, in a drawer. Not dramatic, just quiet, final. For about 3 days after that, I was numb, laid on the couch, watched nothing, let the apartment go quiet in a way that felt permanent. But grief moves through stages, and by day 4, mine landed somewhere I didn't expect. Not sadness, patience. I remember sitting down at my kitchen table with my laptop, the same table where Rachel used to do her makeup in the mornings, and just staring at the login screen for my old work account, debating. Then I typed in my password. It still worked. Now, here's something I want to be clear about, because I know how this next part might sound. I wasn't accessing anything I wasn't authorized to see. These were systems I'd built and maintained for 5 years. My account was still active, and IT hadn't gotten around to shutting it off yet. But I knew there was a difference between having access and abusing it. I wasn't going to abuse it. I was just, finally, going to actually look. So I opened the expense logs, and I checked one trip. Denver, a vendor conference. Then I checked another, Chicago, client relations. Then a third. And suddenly, I wasn't looking at an affair anymore. I was looking at a pattern. Every single one of those trips lined up, almost to the day, with a night Rachel had canceled with me. Work call, girls' night, running late. I laid the dates side by side, and my stomach turned with every match. 2 hotel charges, then a third, a resort about 90 minutes outside the city, booked under team building retreat. 1 room, 2 guests. Then I found something worse. In the approval log, half of those expense reports hadn't gone through finance at all. They'd been pre-approved directly by Rachel's own department login. At first, I couldn't understand why she'd risk that. Then it clicked. If those charges ever got flagged, and Rachel was the one who'd already signed off on them, it would look routine, buried. Nobody double-checks what's already been approved. She wasn't just covering for Grant's affair. She was making sure nobody ever had a reason to look twice. And then, a week into digging, I found the email that changed everything. Buried in a thread I still had visibility on, a message from Rachel to Grant, 3 days before I got fired. Not romantic, strategic. She'd written, "He's going to be a problem once he finds out. You need to handle the termination before he does anything with the accounts." Handle the termination. I read that line 4 or 5 times just to make sure I wasn't imagining it. Then, right below it, Grant's reply. Just 2 lines. Already talked to HR. Restructuring goes through Friday. He won't see it coming. He won't see it coming. They didn't just cheat behind my back. They sat down and planned the day I'd lose my job, like it was a line item on a checklist. My hands went cold, not shaking anymore, just cold and steady and focused in a way I'd never felt before. I spent the next 4 days compiling everything, every date, every dollar, every message. I wasn't angry in that loud, screaming way anymore. I was something quieter, something more dangerous. By the end of that week, I created an anonymous account and sent the entire report to the company's compliance department and to the regional VP, 2 levels above Grant. Then, I closed my laptop and I waited. 3 weeks passed. Nothing happened. I started assuming they'd buried it, or worse, that somehow Grant had traced it back to me. I actually looked into calling a lawyer just in case, barely slept most nights that week, running through every possible way this could blow up in my face instead of his. Then, on a Tuesday morning, I got an email, not from compliance, from corporate legal. Something about an unauthorized access review tied to my old login. Oh no. For 2 full days, I was convinced I'd handed Grant a way to make me look like the criminal. Then, on the 3rd day, Tobias called, my old work friend, one of the only people who'd stayed in touch. His voice had this tight, careful excitement to it. "Dude," he said, "you need to sit down." Turns out that review wasn't about me, it was routine, compliance, tracing every account that touched those files to rule people out. And once they actually looked at what I'd sent them, they realized I wasn't the problem. I was the whistleblower. I don't think I've ever felt relief like that in my life. Tobias told me the rest like he was narrating a movie. Grant got called into an emergency meeting with compliance and legal, walked in confused, walked out pale. Apparently, he asked right there in the room, who reported this? Nobody answered. They just turned the laptop around and showed him. Every date, every dollar, every approval with Rachel's login on it, and that email. Security walked him out that same afternoon. Same walk I'd taken weeks earlier, except this time, everybody watched. About a week later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't pick up. It was Grant. His voice was nothing like the smooth, charming tone I used to hear in meetings. It was tight, cracking. "You ruined my life," he said. I didn't yell. Didn't need to. I just said, "No, Grant. I didn't ruin your life. I just stopped hiding what you did." He didn't have anything to say back to that. He just hung up. 2 days after that, Rachel called. First time since the breakup. Her voice was shaking. "Did you do this?" "I didn't do anything, Rachel," I said. "I just stopped covering for people who never covered for me." She started crying, told me Grant cut off all contact the second the investigation started. Didn't return her calls, didn't defend her, not once. By the second month, everyone knew. Not the version she probably would have told if she'd ever gotten the chance to control it. The real one. The affair, the termination email, the approvals with her name on them, the promotion she'd gambled everything for. Gone. Nobody hands a leadership title to someone connected to a fraud investigation. She tried reaching out to Grant one more time, I heard, about 3 weeks after he lost his job. Showed up at his apartment, actually. Wanted to see if maybe, without the company in the picture, there was still something real between them. He didn't even open the door. I heard she sat in her car outside his building for almost an hour afterward. That's the image that stuck with me, honestly. Not because I felt sorry for her, but because I think that's the exact moment it finally landed. She'd traded 5 years of real loyalty for a man who couldn't even face her once things got hard. As for me, it took a while to feel normal again, but eventually I landed a new job. Smaller company, better people, a manager who actually gives me credit instead of taking it. They thought firing me would erase me. Rachel thought betraying me would free her. Grant thought he could use me and walk away clean. In the end, I didn't destroy either of them. I just stopped protecting them. And sometimes, that's all the revenge you need. If you discovered your fiancé and your boss had secretly planned your firing, would you expose them or walk away and start over? Tell me what you'd do in the comments. And if this story hit you somewhere real, hit like, hit subscribe. There's more stories exactly like this one coming. I'll see you in the next one.